Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to our show. I'm your host, John Harcar, and I'm here today with Ryan Speltz. And what we're going to talk about, besides his journey in business and mortgage, we're going to talk about really creating harmony within your life and business. Remember, guys, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, really all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business. We're providing tools, resources in the community to really level up and scale your business, which in turn helps you live the life you want to live. So, hey, Ryan, welcome to our show.
Appreciate it, John. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to our talk about creating harmony. Everybody likes a bit of harmony. And for me, I love mindset. So I think that all kind of melds into each other. But before we talk about all that, why don't you kind of give our audience, some information on you, your background in business, how you got into mortgage or real estate, and just kind of what brought you all the way to today.
Sure. Yeah, I've always been kind of entrepreneurial and kind of getting out there and doing my own thing. And really, I always tell the story when I was younger, and I kind of grew up in the technology age, so the video games would come out. Madden 06 with Dante Culpepper on the cover was my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one all too well.
Yeah. Madden 98, I think, was the even the best game of all time that Madden ever came out with. And
I can date myself. I'm a Tecmo Bowl. Remember Tecmo Bowl?
Yeah, I did play it a little bit.
Your time, a little before your time. But
so being that way, playing Madden, I never really played the games. I would always just be the coach and the manager in the background because I liked kind of moving pieces around and that kind of thing. So I just simulate the whole season. Mm-hmm. And so that, I look back at that and I go, that's kind of my journey into leadership and entrepreneurship is I've always been just the guy that wants to play with the pieces and help people accomplish their goals and get things done. And, I carry that into the mortgage business now. I've been in the mortgage industry for over a decade and seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and been in a few companies and had great experiences and had poor experiences and all around. And one of the major things that I do recognize is that, when people fail to recognize that there's life outside of work is when they start getting burned out and they go through the emotional roller coaster, the business roller coaster. They don't want to do the things that they once thought that they were really good at and like to do. And eventually they end up folding up shop and going somewhere else, or they just stick it out and they're miserable for 30 years. And we all know those people in the industry and dealing with those people on the other end of the transaction. So, we always talk about not living the same life over and over again. And that's really like the messaging that I like to put out there, as well as just, finding new experiences within your day to day and kind of falling in love with the boring, but then also recognizing that you don't have to give up on the moments outside of work to be able to accomplish your goals.
Got it. So did you go to school for finance or how did you get into the mortgage business?
It's a great entry question. I was actually, I went to school for psychology because I had no idea what I wanted to do. So that was like my fifth major. I started in like anatomy because I was interested in the medical field. My mom was a nurse has been a nurse now for 40 years. And So I started in anatomy and failed it because the teacher just like did the slides out of the book. And I was like, you're not showing me anything. So I stopped showing up and all that fun stuff. So I changed majors after that class.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
And then, ended up into business, and business is all about, the spreadsheets and stuff. And while I enjoy the math, I don't like staring at that stuff all day. So I kind of transferred out of the business major there too, and transferred schools and just kind of ended up in psychology because I knew I could use it to launch into any other program after the fact. And then never went back to school because just didn't feel, got more into entrepreneurship and getting in the directions of, kind of finding my own way out there. Really it was reading, Think and Grow Rich while I was working overnights at a mental hospital that I took pages and pages. I probably just, wrote the book again. Where I was thinking I was taking notes, but I was really just like writing the whole thing down.
Writing everything, right? Everything that you see.
Right. Yeah.
That's
just kind
cool.
of copying it. Right. Yeah. And once I kind of did that, it kind of set off the entrepreneur journey and, a bunch of different failed businesses up until this point. But that's kind of how the direction started. And then really jumping into mortgage, I was working about 80 hours in a new shoe store that was at an outlet mall. And I was the assistant manager of the store, but there was no store manager. So I was dealing with different people each week coming in and, acting as store manager. And I was just like, well, I mean, I know the ins and outs of the store like the back of my hand. I've been here 6 months. Why can't I become the store manager? And, they basically told me like, well, you're not ready for it. I said, okay. And just kind of kept sticking it out. And then one of my buddies is like, dude, you're miserable. You're working 80 hours a week. You're making 35 grand. Like, come over here. And it was a company that ended up, they were buying leads from Lending Tree. So I'd make, 80 to 100 calls a day and just keep hitting the button until you make as much money as you want. And that was kind of how the transition happened. And eventually recognized that wasn't my path either and wanted to go a little bit more lifestyle focused on the business versus just slamming out phone calls the whole time. So
okay. So what were some of the maybe struggles or things that you ran into getting into the mortgage industry, like when you started, like you said, slamming the phones and doing all that stuff?
Yeah, there was really finding the balance, right? And that's probably why it's so important for me today, is because the pendulum would just swing. And I attribute a lot of that pendulum swinging is because I was still kind of, hitting the bottle a little hard at that point. I had just come out of college. And so I was just kind of like, thinking I was enjoying my time, right?
Yeah,
that was my balance. You finish work, you have a beer, turns into 6, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've been sober now for 4 years, so I get to look back and laugh about that. But there was, a ton of times in there that weren't so great. But
yeah, congratulations. I just got 11. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. I always love when I look up and it's, somebody's out there leading the way. And so thanks for leading the way.
Yeah, thank you.
And it just turned into like my life balance was, that's what it was like, okay, let's have a couple drinks. And, you look back at it now and it's like, all I did was do the same thing in different places. And so that's where the lead to sobriety kind of came from. But that was really the struggle, was just like finding the balance because, my wife at that point was working 2 jobs. I was working a job and a half, just trying to make it work to rent a 600 square foot apartment in Louisville, Kentucky.
Right. And
we just kind of pushed and pushed and pushed. And I told her like, this is the way. And I didn't close a loan for like the first 6 months. So I left a retail job that I was making, $3,000 a month. I didn't have a long runway here. Like it was like, we're just going to make work what we can. And, she looked at me kind of like halfway through the 5th month there and was like, is this really what's going to work? And then the next day I got my first contract. So it's like that digging for the diamonds or the gold or whatever they call that.
Right.
You know, that was the big struggle, is just being able to maintain enough balance to hold it all together.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And I guess a good question would be like your mindset through all that, right? I mean, that's got to be, you leave the comfort, you leave the security, you go in and I mean, 'cause it happens to a lot of guys that get into real estate, get into wholesaling, get into stuff, you know, months go by and there's no money, there's no deals. Like, how did you keep yourself dialed in and focused?
The problem was I probably wasn't keeping myself dialed in. That's probably why it took 6 months, you know, like we just talked about. But
Right.
but you know, it's something that I can look back on and go, man, if I wouldn't have gone through that, I don't think I'd be where I am right now. And you know, especially with, you know, the ebbs and flows of the last couple of years coming out of 2021, 22, where everything was like you could throw a rock and hit somebody that needed a refinance, to now, you know, you can't find anyone to refinance, so you're completely based on purchase money, and it becomes, you know, that's the difficulty. And so when you have a lower month, you go, well, it's not a zero. And I've been through zero, and you know, so that it doesn't get worse than where I was. So like that's kind of the mindset now that has developed out of that, was like the ability to just recognize that like it can't get worse than what it was when I started. And so if there's a pivot that needs to happen, you make it. Or I think honestly now the biggest thing that people need to recognize is it's not pivoting. It's not another marketing opportunity. It's not an AI platform. It's not ChatGPT that's going to change your life in your business. The answer is go deeper on what you're good at. Like if you're good at one thing, just take that one thing and run with it as long as you possibly can, and go as deep as you can.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's what people get, the shiny object syndrome, is, you know, what they call it.
So bad right now too, because there's so much out there.
Well, it's been that way. I mean, especially in the real estate space, the wholesale investing space. I mean, it's just that shiny object syndrome is the killer of so many people. But I love how you said that. You know, just dig in and focus on that one thing. So where are you seeing trends in the mortgage industry going? I mean, we all know what rates are. We know that's caused some slowdown and stuff. So where are you seeing things come along or coming?
I mean, as far as rates, we can guess and pick and choose, but right now the markets are hinging on tweets at this point of up and down, right? So it could be, you know, 5 minutes from now we get a tweet that says something that the markets don't like, and it changes tremendously. Especially, you know, we've seen the 10-year fluctuate over the last 2 months within like a 75 basis point range, which is crazy to see that. You know, it puts us kind of back into 2020. We hadn't seen that since then. But as far as, you know, trends in the industry, which I think is probably more important to talk about, because if we start focusing on rates outside of ourselves, we can never really get outside of that, right? Like the rate's never going to be good enough for us.
So, yeah, I meant the whole mortgage industry. What kind of trends are you seeing coming down the pipe?
Yeah, you know, I mentioned ChatGPT and the things that won't change your life, but arguably it can if you do it the right way, right? And I think that right now, if you are a business owner in the mortgage industry and you're not focusing on how AI can streamline some of the things behind you, you're missing, and eventually you're going to get stuck behind. And again, you know, we talk about work-life harmony as kind of the intro. That might be okay, right? Like maybe you are a guy that you're doing 5 loans a month and that feeds your family and accomplishes all your goals. You don't have to go implement something that's going to get you to 7 to 10, right? Like at some point you've got to recognize, like, if I'm just chasing more and more and more, it doesn't make any sense. That being said, if you are the guy that wants to go from 5 to 10, the best way to do it is data and using some kind of system that streamlines something that takes you a long time. And so, you know, when we talk about shiny object, it's consistently add. But if you can use the tool to subtract something from yourself, then you have more time to do that one thing that you can go as deep as possible on. And and that's kind of the focus for our company, especially, and bringing in loan officers and helping them see that. it's super important for the rest and kind of the next direction of the mortgage industry is using that technology.
Awesome. What does your team look like now? What does your company look like now?
Yeah, we launched about a year ago now. So just kind of getting out the kinks and figuring out.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
We're in 6 different states, so filing quarterly reports and for the business and tax reports, even though, we only have one W-2 employee. He moved in the middle of his employment, so now I've got 2 states extra to file in. It's just like figuring it all out, right? Like taking your bumps. But we've got, it's me and a partner, Jason, and he's also sober, so it's kind of cool to have that together.
Definitely.
And we've known each other for quite some time, and so good friends operating at a high level is really fun to kind of do, and that's kind of how I've wanted to design my business from the beginning, is just start working with people I enjoy being with. And so we got the partner, and then we've got a loan partner and a processing team, and so it's kind of nice to get the loans in and then not have to do all the minutia of those kinds of things. And then we've got a pretty solid tech stack that takes a lot off our plate with everything else. So
awesome. Well, let's kind of talk a little bit more about the creating harmony in life and business. So let's, if you're talking with someone about this, like, what are some of the things that you recommend, or maybe it could be questions they need to ask themselves. Our society says go, right? Accomplish, get as much as you can. How do you get people to steer away from that and understand that life balance?
The biggest thing is really just not necessarily even knowing your numbers. That's obviously important to know, like conversion rates and how many people you actually have to talk to to get a loan and that kind of stuff. That's just like surface level stuff though, because you can figure that out and then not know what to do with that information, right? Like you may know that at 1 out of every 10 people you talk to, you close a loan on them. Okay, cool. But where does that lead to? Like, do you know how much you make per loan? Do you know how much you need to make? Right. And so this is something I've kind of adopted from Glover U, which is a big real estate coaching company. And Jeff Glover, I've met him personally a few times. He's a fantastic dude, like top notch. If you're looking for coaching in real estate, he's a dude that I would talk to, just to tap his brain. He's a good dude. And I went to one of his events, and we spent the entire first day morning, like we took like a 10-minute break out of 4 hours. We spent the entire morning breaking down our needs, our wants, and then translating those into numbers so that you could recognize, like, people ask, if you ask a loan officer how much he wants to make, he's going to tell you $100,000. Because anybody that's never made $100,000, they want to make $100,000. No. That's like the benchmark, right? And then you break it down for him. I did this with one of the loan officers I used to work with. She put $100,000 down as her goal. We did the numbers. I told her, like, make up this crazy vacation. Like, she wanted to go to Ireland. I said, cool, I've been to Ireland. It costs you about $4,000 if you do it, where you drive all over the country and spend your nights in Airbnbs and, do it like the thrift way, right? I said, I don't want you to do it the thrift way. I literally want you to plan this trip, and I want you to make it as crazy as you could think of, right? Like someone drives you around the entire country and you spend the night in a castle every night, right? So we did the math. She ends up coming up with like a $17,000 number or something like that. Her husband's got a really good job. She's kind of just doing this. She's a stay-at-home mom. She wanted to add some extra income to the family, kind of clear out some debt. So that was the other thing, was I want to clear out the debt. So we did the math, and she had set this $100,000 bar, which at the time would have been 3 loans a month for her. We broke it all down, ended up being like $62,000, and she only had to close 1.1 loans per month. But she was aiming for 3 loans a month as a new loan officer, thinking like, I can't even get 1 loan. How am I going to get 3?
Right.
Like stressing herself out about making this arbitrary $100,000 number when really she needed nowhere near that. So breaking it down like that, just kind of like, it takes the pressure off. Even if it ends up being more loans than you thought, that's fine. But now and then you start breaking down daily habits. So long story there, biggest thing would be break down what you need and what you want, and take what your big wants are and average them over the next 12 months to kind of get a benchmark of what you could do. And then you'll get to the end of the 12 months and you go, I could push that another 12 months. Let me figure something else out for the next 12. And then you've got this big chunk of money sitting around that you didn't use on the, $20,000 vacation.
Right.
So it's just kind of recognizing what you actually want and need, and then going after it is the biggest thing that we do on day one when we bring in loan officers.
So kind of like reverse engineering your goals, right? Start with the end in mind, and then break it down into pieces. How do you get there? What do you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and changing goals, because everybody kind of looks at goals. It's one of those words that can kind of be like pie in the sky a little bit. Kind of turning goals more into benchmarks and objectives, right? So now you go, okay, I want to close 3 loans a month. I know I have to talk to 15 people today. How am I going to do that? And then you check it off and you go, okay, that was a perfect day. And then the next day you put a perfect day together, and then you make a whole perfect week. And now you go look back and you have something in, as David Goggins would say, in the cookie jar to pull out. Like you just did a whole week of it. You can do next week too. And you just keep pushing and pushing, but you're not pushing for something that's just more. You're pushing to an actual objective,
to a goal,
which is so much more powerful internally.
100%. Awesome, man. Great content, dude. Before we sign off here, is there any last words of advice? Anything that you kind of want to share with our audience that might, lend to that whole harmony in life and business thing?
Yeah, the number one thing that I've recognized, and again, this comes with clarity of sobriety, I'm sure. And it doesn't put anybody that does drink or that isn't sober behind the 8 ball or anything like that. You just have to sit down and kind of really figure out what you actually want. And if that's not where you are right now, then that's okay. But just start talking about where you want to be, and start talking about like yourself as you are already there.
Yeah.
And things will start being put in front of you that you didn't recognize before. And I think a lot of us bury ourselves very quickly into places where we can't see opportunity because we're so buried. And if we can, kind of build a stairway out of that, it's just, as cliche as it sounds, take the first step and really figure out where you want to be and then put yourself there. So,
man, I love it. Ryan, thank you, man, for coming on here and sharing all that stuff. That's some great info. I mean, just a whole life part of it. Guys, I hope you at home enjoyed the show too. Hope you took some good notes, took some good nuggets. It's important to balance that life and business, so you're going to die faster than you want to. Ryan, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for coming on again. And folks, we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
That's good. Thanks, John.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.